Hello and welcome to my studio. I am Ann Butera. If you don't know me, I am a botanical watercolor painter and I'm also a sketchbook fanatic. And sketchbooks are what I want to talk about today. I want to share a tour of this cute little sketchbook that I've been working on for over 3 years. I just finished it and wanted to show you the pages. I also wanted to share some encouragement for you. Twofold. First, to keep going. If something seems like it's taking a long time, or if you think, oh, I'll never do X, Y, or Z, it's never going to happen, keep going with it. Keep dreaming your dreams. This sketchbooks always take me a long time. This one was not the longest one ever. I shared a tour last year of a sketchbook. I think that it took me 8 years to complete, and that's fine. That's great. That's wonderful. Things take time. Also, just this past year, I finally realized a dream of moving to the country. Matthias and I finally found our dream property after years and years of searching. And I was feeling very discouraged for a while when things weren't happening, when we weren't able to find anything. But it really is a dream come true, and I want you to know that things are possible. Wonderful things are possible. So keep dreaming, keep going, keep working towards your dreams. I also want to encourage you to start something before you're ready or before you think the time is right. I wasn't sure I was going to do a video because my new studio, although wonderful, is only temporarily set up. I organized everything so I could get to work in the space as it is, but I have lots of plans and dreams to make it truly mine. And right now it's functional, and that is all I can ask. I just also love this space, even in its imperfection. So if you think things aren't the way you'd like them to be, do it anyway. Begin. Make that video. Work in that sketchbook, whatever it is. I want to share that encouragement. So I'll stop blabbering on, show you the pages inside of this sketchbook. So this sketchbook is a Talon's Art Creation sketchbook that measures about 4¼ inches square. This is the smallest sketchbook that I've ever worked in, and its cute small size is one of the things that attracted me to it. Here is another small one that I made. It's a bit bigger because it's rectangular instead of square. And then this one I think is a 5-inch square. So small can be good or bad. This sketchbook I love because of the color. This brand of sketchbook has lots of different sizes. Here's my other one. Doesn't quite fit in the screen, but I love that they come in a lot of different colors, different sizes. This one is partly finished. I have one that I did not start yet. That is like a landscape orientation. I'm excited to start this, maybe finishing this sketchbook, and I finished a couple others recently. Maybe that means I get to start a new one. I did fill up a whole other sketchbook just like this. This coral one was filled up by a friend, Dana Barberi. She filled this for me. I filled up a green one for her. So that was a fun exchange. So I've worked in 2 books just like this already, and I really like them. They have 80 sheets, which is 160 pages, which is quite a bit. Another thing that I like about them, they have these elastic bands that color coordinate with them. Here's my blue one, and they have a coordinating ribbon bookmark. So a nice touch. Aesthetically, they are pleasing to work in. Let's dive in here. So I like to write the dates, and this is the 24th sketchbook I've finished. I like to start out with swatches because they're very low pressure. This first swatch page and some other pages were filmed for some sketchbook classes that I teach. This dahlia was from that same class. A couple more sketches in the garden. These 2 pages, and I love this. I don't know. The black paper, the blue butterflies, and then side by side, one in crayon and one in colored pencil. I really enjoy pages side by side that somehow relate or talk to one another. And this one is very similar to that first dahlia. This time I did the text with the Posca pen. I think these were Inktense blocks that I used some water over. I ended up giving away the Inktense blocks because I didn't really like them. Some butterflies. What I enjoy doing, and something I talked about in that class, was having different backgrounds, whether you are working on separate paper that you glue in or painting your own background. This is acrylic paint and then Neocolor 2s. Here's just a little border of a painted background. And I think that is colored pencil. So Cosmos 2 ways, some color swatches. Oh, and these little papers, this is tracing paper. Oops, and I put that in the wrong way. I put these in so that when I'm working in other pages and I'm pressing hard, you can see the crayon came up on here. That just protects the pages a bit. You don't have to do that unless you want to. Garden colors. Sometimes when I have no idea what to do, just color is what I come back to again and again. Some simple sketching in the garden with a marker. Crickets, snails. This is a brush pen and that was colored pencil. And then I love this spread. These were both watercolor sketches that I did on separate paper. Added some colored pencil for details. And then I cut them out and glued them in the sketchbook. When you're working in a small space, it can be hard to work. And so gluing things in is a great way to go. I cannot remember if this was a shadow that I sketched. And that's Posca paint pens. This little zinnia is a Posca paint pen sketch next to colored pencil, I think. Another example of the same subject done with different media on 2 pages. And then a colored pencil Cosmos, and then just a little note. I enjoy writing notes to myself in my sketchbooks. This is a painted background that I went back and used some Neocolor 2s, just like a sketchy, I don't really know if it's supposed to be a landscape, maybe garden, just very abstract. And painting backgrounds is something I will do in sketchbooks when I don't know what to do, and I'll maybe do a few at the same time and then come back to them later. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's really frustrating because then I don't know exactly what to do on those backgrounds. And then these abstracts, I really enjoy painting abstracts, and I'll put a whole bunch of sketchbooks on my table and work on them all at once with one color palette. Also, I will work on separate papers. And so I'll just move back and forth between all the different paintings. It takes the pressure off and is fun to do. So there's a bunch in a row here. And then these grasshoppers. It's February 11th. And I found a tiny little grasshopper that must have had a cocoon, pupa, whatever, in one of my plant pots and hatched out. I don't know what happened to it, but I did some grasshopper sketches that day, inspired by that little visitor. I love stripes. I come back to them again and again when I don't know what to do. I sketched a cedar waxwing after seeing one on a walk, or actually more than one. The tree was filled with them eating crab apples. Some more experiments with Neocolor 2s, blending colors with and without water. I believe there's a little bit of water here. And then just a sketchy scribble on top of some sort of background. I can't really remember what color it was. Some daffodils that I was doing some pattern design with Adobe Illustrator. So I sketched a bunch here and on separate papers and scanned them in. More abstracts. I really enjoy taping off pages in different shapes, different sizes, long and thin, or single pages. It's interesting how different the paintings look with different shapes. That is liquid watercolor. Some marker sketches done on the deck, I believe. I did a couple of pages together in 2 sketchbooks with stripes. That's watercolor. Here's another stripy page with, this was leftover watercolor. The other was directly from my Kuretake set. This was also leftover. I think it was gouache, not watercolor, but raindrops. And just some designs with that leftover gouache. I did a few of these night scenes, which were so fun. The background is acrylic paint with a lot of gesso mixed in, clear gesso for texture. And then I used colored pencil on top. And then I think for the stars, it was Posca pens or maybe gel pens. So I had such fun with that, just layering. And that was done in the garden with my roses. This is part of my Loosen Up sketchbook class. And so was this. This is an ink brush. And they're fun to use, but they are messy and they leak and you got to be careful with them. Sometimes when you're sketching, big blobs of paint will come out and it can be so messy, but they are fun. They're a fun way to loosen up. Another background that I just did a scribbly. I think these are Neocolor 2s. Again, when I do a background and don't know what to do, sometimes it can be frustrating. More of the ink brush done. I have the whole demo of that in my Loosen Up class. I have a demo of a similar page done in a different sketchbook that you can watch here on YouTube. This dahlia sketch was from my Loosen Up class too, and gosh, this stem is so wonky on this. and it's falling off the page, but you know, that is totally okay with me. And it's part of loosening up. This is another ink brush. This one was brush pen. Oh, I love rose hips, and this was fun to do in the garden. A little painted, well, using the ink brush pattern. This was leftover paint. I painted a whole bunch of blue backgrounds in various sketchbooks, and then I did a lot of tree sketches, these birch trees, which these are really meditative for me. Sitting and doing all the layers, the different colors, blending, texture, and that's colored pencil. I would sit in my studio looking out at the birch tree, my former studio, looking out at that birch tree. Using some leftover paint, painting my Swiss cheese vine, more abstracts, a couple little portraits. I did a whole series of these in sketchbooks and out of sketchbooks with acrylic backgrounds and then colored pencil. Some simple one color birds, colored pencil, some juncos and chickadees. Leftover paint from oxalis painting. I did a few sketchbook pages of these. Abstracts, leftover paint, more leftover paint, another abstract, more leftover paint. I love using up leftover paint and just doing weird designs. This was testing out the Lyra Graphite Pastel. I was painting this Streptocarpus plant, and so I did some sketches. Some little thumbnail sketches from a class I took with Helen Wells. I loved doing these, and I really need to do some more. This was from a class with Alyssa Burke. And the challenge with this was don't lift up your pen. I was surprised by how well it turned out. A scribbly landscape. This was from Alyssa Burke's class also, and it was finger painted, which I didn't really love. I didn't love the process. I didn't love how it turned out, but looking at it now, I like it. And I painted a red background and sketched in the garden some tulips. And this I sketched just using a pen, looking at my daffodils in my former garden. And this was after we put in an offer and it was accepted on our property. So I knew that my time with my garden was coming to a close, or I hoped so. You never know what's going to happen when you're purchasing a house. So more leftover paint. I really love granulating paint. So that was fun to play with there. This is really hard to explain. And it was done over multiple sittings. This was from a class I was taking with Helen Hallows, and there's paint put on with a roller. I used leaves to stamp with a black stamp pad, a white stamp pad. I used some pens to outline. It was fun to do. It looks weird. I was trying to get back to sketching and working in my sketchbook. So this was done before we moved. This background was done before we moved. The things on top were done after we moved. It was really hard to get back into art making. And these pages here with the brown colored pencil were all me just sort of doodling and trying to get back into art making. So sketches of Clara, a sketch of Fiona, some chamomile. I was working on a painting that I gave up on because it wasn't working. But I was sketching from the flowers that I had picked, these hosta flowers, and that felt good, and I like how it turned out. These colors are almost exactly the same as these. Sometimes I just have to grab my materials and do something. Pages like these and this are what I'll do when I don't know what to do, and I'm just trying to get my hand back in it. Some clematis from that same set of flowers that I was working from. And then some backgrounds that I did some oak leaves and acorns. I painted a whole bunch of backgrounds. This is watercolor. I did it in various sketchbooks. I don't remember if I was using up leftover paint or just trying to do something. This is also from Helen Hallow's class, and it's stamped with a stamp pad, and this is an apple that I found on our property. This old gnarled apple tree with only a couple apples, and I picked it, or no, this was on the ground, and I cut it open, and there was a little worm, I believe. That might be the worm right there. Anyway, it was fun to do. The page doesn't look like much, and that's okay. These were beets that I stamped using the beet juice. I did this in the kitchen while I was cooking. The beet was from my garden. This is a dahlia I grew from seed and sketched. I was doing some dahlia paintings. Doing this sketch felt so good. I did this outside on a blanket by one of our outbuildings, observing the goldenrod. Actually, I did some of it standing up, just looking at the plants. More backgrounds. More backgrounds. I think I was trying out some color mixes. Some leaves I picked up. My table actually right now is even full of leaves. And this is watercolor. And then the final page. So much contained within the pages of each sketchbook and spilling off them too. So, sketchbook number 24. I'm glad to have spent so much time with you. So I hope that was fun for you to see. A lot of the pages were done in some of the classes that I teach, including Develop a Sketchbook Practice, which is one of my very favorite classes and is now available on my website as a standalone, not just through Skillshare. It's also available there. Also, for a limited time, it is part of Art Bundles for Good, and you can purchase it along with over 100 other classes from over 80 other artists, and 25% of the profits goes to charity. So I'll have all the details below if you want to jump on that deal. There's just a very short time that it's available in that bundle. So thank you so much for watching. I hopefully will be back sometime soon, before another year goes by, with a tour of my space, which, as I said, is imperfect, but you know what? We don't need perfection in order to go ahead and make beautiful things. So I'm wishing you joy and wishing you creativity. Until next time.